the core to me is that it can be Git repos or effectively branches of blockchains, um, and it's that's kind of it. If it can, that's literally the only requirement is if it doesn't compromise that, and it's honestly so tempting to compromise that because it's easy, but I have held to it for many years, and it's working. It's kind of working. So it's yeah, I know, but it's also like, and then that's the end of that. Like getting access in the browser is like, yeah, and given that it's like so close to being there, it's just like sitting right there. There's actually nothing hard about it. It's just the hardness is putting it all together. It's not hard in each individual component. Um, okay, so we won't change the build process or anything like that. It's going a lot faster with Codex, and it will just keep going faster. But yeah, yeah, fuck. All right, and then we'll get the platform up. We'll get some probably our first income from making frames for people, just because they want the software, and we're like, well, we it probably didn't cost us what we're charging it in terms of time, but during this intermediate stage, it's a seller's market. Like if they can't get the quality from anywhere else, we can charge what the market will pay. Like it's not it's the economics are a bit up in the air at the moment. Yeah. Oh, I mean, this is why I love the framing thing, right? Like you can just pluck bits off the shelf and then vibe modify them to suit whatever you want, and then you've got this composite of like all the stuff that kind of worked, and now it's like changed a bit, and you chatted it here, chatted it there, and now it's like ta-da, a thing. And I've yet to have a problem, that's not like yes, because but if we had the platform. So I guess the whole thing that we didn't cover is sure warfare increases innovation rates, and warfare is the ideal place to make a dark age blockchain system because it's the only freaking piece of software that can really survive. So that's like a great thing if we're the only platform that can exist with the whole intermittent busted ass like comms, all that. That's great. We should go to the one place on earth where that's an actual real consideration rather than all these uncontested areas where it's not. But my question to you is, where does ambient attribution fit into that model? Or yes and no. Like the thing, uh, correct me if I'm wrong, but the thing we consider the greatest prize of all, that also doesn't look like much of a prize on the outside, is the ability to have an ambient attribution agent. Is that is that unchanging? Okay, that's great. That's great. I wholeheartedly agree with that. So then, uh, ethics and fairness are actually the same bloody thing. Turns out we hadn't really thought about that way, and so this agent, like, I'm nervous about when it comes finally time to make this agent. What will it do? How will it work? How should we train it? Is it a pipeline? Is it a team of agents? Is there some tuning that's possible? Does it need tools? How does this agent operate, right? And so one of the early cases might be an ethics advisor, because you can go and talk to it and be like, you can describe a situation like, I was at work and then I did this and then I got this, but I didn't get paid this. I got that. And then it's like, well, given the information, that's not enough information. You need to give me more information. But based on that, it could be these three things. That's kind of the kind of answer you want out of the attribution bot, because it is actually an ethics question. It's an ethics oracle in a way, where it can explain to you ethics in, like, we need to adopt a doctrine or a pattern, where it's like, well, this is our rules. Attribution for contribution. Um, yeah. No, not right. No, I disagree with that. I think that's a long-standing line that you've taken, but I no longer think that that's the case here. I think that it's possible for the bot to remedy all the reasonable people. The ambient attribution bot should be able to output something that, on average, the reasonable people agree with, and they're not. And that's different. Yeah, and you need to be able to chat about it endlessly. No, you need to be able to chat about it endlessly, and you need to. It needs to make you feel like it heard what you said, which means that if you make a good point, it needs a mechanism by which that is enacted. So, like, I think one of the greatest feelings you could ever give someone who engages with the ambient attribution agent is to argue with it, win, and then 5 minutes later, the whole world has changed, and how it approaches every single ruling has changed a little bit, or at the very least, it concedes your point and it's like, that's correct, and it updates how it attributes for you. That would make you feel like a winner, because that's the key. That's the key. No power. Yeah, that empowers you. That's a powerful, powerful thing. Mm. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, it needs to be an agent that can hear 1,000 voices and adjust accordingly, and that's really the challenge. Building this bot will be hard, because that's a hard thing. You're kind of like trying to make a Wikipedia of fairness that also gets executed by this structure, and I believe we have all the components, but it's still going to be hard. I guess that's my gripe to you, or my complaint, or my lamenting is like all these tools that we make are really just to give a home or a mount point for that one agent to operate in. But even that agent is hard. Well, you don't know for one, but like, yeah, to explain, yeah, to build, no. Yeah, I should, but yeah, but you're ignoring all the mechanics that go into that. Like, as you know, when you pull back the hood on the LLMs, they sort of start to crumble a little bit, and you need some tactics, you need some prompting, you need some fine tuning, you need this, you need that. And all I'm getting at is that there's a couple of loops around the, hey, does this work? No, oh shit, does this work? Like, there's a bunch of innovation that's non-trivial that needs to be done on that bot, and that's what I'm sort of calling out. Like, it's starting to come into focus now, how it works, and I'm like, oh, that's a couple of cycles of like, change this, try this, do this, blah blah blah. I don't really want to mirror anything. It's always zero sum. It's always zero sum. No, those are all the things I hate, though. Like, because you're binding yourself to the past. We have an opportunity here to make a system that binds itself to the correct thing. Let us not forget, the goal of the system is to extract out the heart of the LLM that is in there somewhere amongst all those billions of parameters, and use its purest judgment in our favor, in our service. That should be endless. You can do that. You should be able to do that forever, so long as you're paying for the tokens. You can do that as much as possible. It's not a war where spending more tokens is necessarily going to get you any greater outcome, because as we know, these bots have demonstrated the ability to stand there and out argue you. Even if you put a bot against them, so long as you're paying for the tokens, it should be able to stand there for billions of tokens worth of arguments to come before it, and it wouldn't even matter. No, no, it's not. It's saying that we're trying to build a system that is resilient to volume and it pursues correctness above all else. Now, one of the things that another thing I dislike about the judicial model is that in an agent, it, it's the one, like the judicial system is split because judges have this narrow pipeline through which their workload can flow, namely their time. They can only hear sort of one case at any given moment in time, whereas the agent hears all of them simultaneously. It's the same agent, just running with unlimited instances. And so it makes the structure very flat. Like appeals, there's really only two possible levels that you could go here. One is the agent doing the execution, and the second is the lawmaker or the wise old man that looks at all the arguments and stuff and sees how it's going and then makes changes to the executive bot. Worst model ever. Worst model, absolute worst model ever. Can't be. That's not the ambient attribution model. Not even close. No, no, anything other than correctness. That's why it needs to be like one agent that makes the call. It's not up for like, but you can see all the prompting, you can see all the everything. Having more agents only amplifies the call of unfairness. It, it must be only one. Now there can be a second agent that is like the curator or the builder or the upgrader, the modifier of that one agent, but those are still singular agents. There's only two agents, and it might be possible to merge those two functions and still keep it one agent. And the upgrade process is just a background thread that crunches away where like you say something and the bot says, well, currently it's this, but you raise a good point. Let me think about it. Here's your ticket number. And then you watch this long running process go off and grind away to possibly modify the inner prompting or programming of the bot. Right? I very strongly believe it comes down to one agent, and I feel like I can make a strong case for that. It is. It is. Yeah, but if you have more than one, you're applying the rules of people to bots. It Having more than one bot doesn't solve that problem. It's the same problem. Now you just made it worse because now it's murky and muddy, and it's like the equation that says why are there only two jet engines on a 777 versus four on a 747. Like it's always better to have, like in certain circumstances, you want less parts. This is one of them. You don't want a complex system. If you present the everyday person with like this army of like 12 agents plus the support crew of like another 50, they're going to look at it and be like, what the fuck? Like, who's that guy? What's that agent? Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the point. Make one bot, make it good. Don't make two bots don't like make two half-assed bots. Like that won't get you anything. Now you're gonna sort of a little bit doubt both of them. Just make one and make it really good. Like it's not the same mechanical thing as a single human. It can it can run in parallel. It can be 1,000 people concurrently. What you want is the core and the personality to be perfected. And the work you expend on doing that should be focused on making a single one good. You can put presentation layers in front of it that say the same core knowledge or same judgments in nice ways or dollied up ways, like how you have a press representative or a marketing spin on it. But the core judgment should be a single, solitary, simple agent that everyone can look at and they understand how it got to its arrangement, why it did that. You can replay its reasoning, you can argue with it, which can affect its reasoning long term. And it just that's the pivot point. That's the fulcrum. Right. No, it's just an implementation detail. It's an implementation detail, but the net result is it presents as a single agent. Like what's wrong with that? The question the solution to that is in the way we ask the question. It's only ever asked for an instantaneous result. It's never asked for an all-time result. Yeah, you can ask it to rerun an old case that new information has come to light, and it'll do that. It's based on the fact that it will, given a set of information, and this is where it's critical to have the blockchain because you're like this hash for this information. Here's the ruling. If you change the hash, the ruling will change. Sometimes by hardly anything, sometimes by a lot. But if you change the hash, the ruling changes. Who knows? Yeah, it's right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but that's part of the upgrade process. It's something has caused it to recognize that its judgment was outdated or in error, and it can reissue the judgment. It should be able to reissue any judgment at any time. You should be able to call on it to reappraise any case. If you're paying for the tokens, no problem. It's not going to be like you can just rerun it 1,000 times and it'll eventually land in your favor, because the purpose of this design is that it be fairly stable. Like we would have already run it like 10 times, 20 times, whatever our testing says gives a converging answer. So we're like, go for your life. Like we've got convergence here, and you know, mm, 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 mm-hmm, yep. auditable and transparent, but the metaphor is a single agent. It's like it is the benevolent dictator. That's what you want. It'd be like you're talking to the butcher. You're talking to the guy in charge, the guy that can make a decision in your favor every time, no matter how mundane, no matter how boring. He'll always hear you out so long as you pay for the tokens. That's your one guy. Was an error. So that's we covered that a while back. I think the best way is to adopt some form of PID control, which is potential, integral, and differential control, which is used for smooth operation of servo motors. Stop me if you know this. It's about taking the position, so where we are right now, the integral, where have we come from, and the derivative, where are we trending towards, and using those bits of information in just the right mix to generate a control signal. And so the attribution should always be ruled instantaneously. It should then look at the sum of all the previous rulings and what attribution has been made. And it should look at where things are heading if it continues on the same way, and where it needs to land up or balance. And that's how it carries out reparations. The ambient attribution is never right forever. It's not even right for right now. It's just like this is as good as we can do right now. That's its humble position. Yeah, that's right. Yep. Mm, that's right. That's right. And yeah, and you'll start getting ambient attribution for your contribution of improving the attribution algorithm, which means that as long as that improvement is valid, you will get a tiny, tiny little cut of every ruling, which makes it worth your fucking while to correct this thing. Now, I just want to add that even on its shittiest day, you're still going to get a better go from this thing than you would from a traditional human thing, right? And this is the issue, right? We're arguing about, in a way, we're arguing about this like nanometer scale correction, but already the shitty version will be grand compared to dealing with a human. Yeah, right. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to figure out how to make an agent of any kind. So that's what the agentic platform is about. Figure out how to make it so that humans can interact with this thing naturally. And then we're going to have to figure out how to make it so that one bot can have a billion concurrent interactions where each interaction is used to contribute to its improvement or its base knowledge or its, let's call it fine tuning, for lack of a better word. Well, yes and no. We have it theoretically. Doing those things at that scale is still remains to be seen. I think the design can take us there, but that's a hard thing to do. Be- Mm, mm, mm. Because it, uh, nah. And the thing that's good about using transcludes for all this is that it's a way of accessing training data without duplicating it. Because if you start petitioning, you're kind of implicitly giving your data over for the bot to train on, and you want it to. You want it to as well, right? And yeah, see this thing over here. And so you're not, it's not like you're taking people's data, it's that you genuinely need it. They genuinely want you to have it. And now you, if you were able to have a billion conversations, that's a big data set to train on. And where it's probably going to hit is that we should get enough information that we can train our own model that is like the the base model, the what do they call it? The fundamental model, or the, it's like the base model of fairness. And we can start training a base AI that is like, this is your reference model. This is like physicists will have like their base model, and um geneticists will have their, right. Yeah, and here's an LLM. Yeah. 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 And so you end up with a great sort of virtuous cycle, I think, where people are paying for the tokens for the machine to run and to do some micro training on itself, and handing over the data because they need you to have it. And so it's sort of like a great self training model. Like, people want it to be trained. They want it to be trained. Whereas, like, does everyone want all of their Facebook Messenger histories scraped for training Llama? Maybe not. Maybe. Yeah, and so the foundation model, yeah, the foundation model of not getting ripped off, the foundation fair go model is something that a vast number of people would attempt to lift up to the sky. Like, you would, there's not many other models that you'd want so unanimously, I think. Like, an LLM, sure. A physics model, sure. But yeah, right? You're like, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest model of all? And you end up, there's something virtuous about that loop, right? It's the fact that you improve it, you'll get attributed by it, and then you use it to attribute or guide your moral decisions when it comes to asset allocation, or remuneration or compensation, attribution. This is the attribution model. Sure. I'd say that that would come out with some sort of a balance, right? Where it's like, well, you weren't like the mechanism by which it would learn to deal with that is that the LLM would take a stab at it first, right? Because there's probably a lot of great literature on the subject that it's read that we don't know that it can call upon, and it's like, well, we got this rule that says that debt can't be passed from father to son, and so therefore, does it also mean that inverse debt, as in reparations owed, does that pass on as well? Who should pay the reparation? It's all these kinds of questions, right? There's a lot of writing about it, but um, the way that it would get to learn that is that it'd take a stab at it first, and then different people would pipe up with different arguments, and that's the key part that it needs to be able to do, is to balance out different arguments that are coming in, use its foundational knowledge that it has built in, and then figure out a new stance to take based purely on the correctness of the information presented to it. Right. Yeah. But we got to be careful not to get drawn into us having an opinion on these things. Our job is to make the mechanism by which the agent can form its opinion. Our job is never to have an opinion, and that's a dangerous hole to fall down. Right. Multiple petitions is crucial to the functionality. You should be able to petition as many times as you can afford the tokens to do so, and it shouldn't matter one bit to the correctness. What matters is the novel information that you contain within your petitions. Now, a further model of what I think would bring people delight is that it seems perfectly reasonable that we should see bots and models pop up that are tuned to petition the attribution agent for you, and it will come up with more things in your favor than you ever could. And you should be delighted to watch it. You're like, this thing is going hard for me. And I didn't even think of half the stuff that it did. And, but yeah, and then off it goes, right? Grinding, 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 all this stuff. But then the other guy has that as well. Like, everyone who gets a piece of the pie is able to do that, but it's no longer adversarial in that it's not each individual versus each other, it's each individual versus the agent. And that's the model we want it in, because there's no point arguing me to you about who gets what. The only point is arguing with the agent. Hmm. No, the payment is made. Like, these are some of the fundamental rules that the agent needs to be set up to run. It's like a payment is final. That's it. It was made with the best of knowledge at the time, and that's it. And then payments in the future can be, you know, those are yet to be ruled on, and they will take into account payments of the past, but it's never going to just rewrite what happened. You could look at it and be like, oh, I see that you got overpaid because the agent now thinks that you got paid too much. You could come forward and help settle the balance if you want, or you could just be like, no, I'm good. I'll just let the bot work it out. That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably one of the best. Like attribution, the bot's not concerned with a sign really. It's like, yeah, I just I just want to like re-stress the point of what it will be like to work in this agent's world where like you and I could do a venture together and then go to this agent. It My bots will argue for me, and the bots kind of come courtesy. Like I could agree that at least this model would be multi-agent, where each person is automatically assigned an argumentative bot that's sort of very biased towards them. And so the key experience that I'm trying to hoist up is the fact that you can then have all these horrifically unfair things said that would benefit you or that would tear me down, but it was never you that said them. It just said what you might have been thinking, but now the social awkwardness of you arguing about your pay packet or your options package is no longer a thing. It's like the bot generated more arguments for you than you could think of yourself. Yeah, it's a massive. That's right. It's a massive gain. It's a massive gain to have these bots work for you because you'd leave feeling, to mention your wanting people to feel something or feel good. If I live feeling like a bot had made more stronger cases for me than I could have come up with, and they were considered reasonably and argued against and all that, I'd be pretty chuffed with that. I'm like, that's probably pretty good. Arbitrary, it doesn't matter. Yeah, 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 yeah. Right, yeah, but yeah. In fact, we would supply you the default. You don't have to take our armaments if you don't want them. You can bring your own. You're welcome to, but we'll give you the default and we'll do the petitioning for you because we want it. We want a petition for you, and it means that your friend. It's a huge deal to change the social stigma around arguing for a fair go for yourself at the expense of one of your colleagues or friends. Like people hate having to do that. But here we're like, well fuck, it's not even me, it's the bot. And you've got the same bot. Perfect example. Better example than most. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Mhm. Massive one. Yep. Right. we're still not properly touching on the thing I want, though. Yes, the process is fair. Yes, the process is not final because if new information comes up in the future, you know that it's going to adjust accordingly. Like, that's a huge weight off your back. Like, you don't, yeah, or or with other members who are also falling in line with the bot, where the bot's like, well, this guy owes this other guy, and so the attribution angle should be what you were going to pay him 50% needs to go over to this guy that he kept as a slave. Like, that's a yeah. Mm. Well, that's a huge thing to be able to say, let's just sort it out later. Like, that would solve so many problems. It's the issue is that no one trusts that you're gonna be able to sort it out later, and that's why it gets so gnarly and scrappy. Is because people are like, if it's not sorted now, it'll never be, and I'll lose, and it stays lost. But just being able to say, buddy, I don't feel like it right now. Can we just sort it out later? And it's like, sure, mate. I trust this agent. No problem whatsoever. It's the ease, man. The friction reduction. Yep. 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 Yeah, but yeah, that is reasonable. But also, I don't have to pay it because I could be like, look, uh, right? Because then all that happens is each. Well, no, no, no. The correct move would be like the sort of the default move is that you do nothing, and the next time you get attribution from anywhere, the attribution agent is going to make a partial payment to me because it's it's worked out, right? It's not that you owe me and now you must settle. It's like you can settle if you want, but the bot will settle us up gradually over time. It won't do a lump. That's what the PID control's about. It won't just thump you so that, like, suddenly I'm getting like 100% of your income and you can't eat. Like, it's never going to do that. But it's you just carry on. We just all carry on. That's the point. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't need to be the end of the friendship, right? Like, if you want to talk about getting the innovation rate up, how many innovators part ways with people because of disputes like that? Whereas if we had a system that you could just be like, buddy, this thing will take care of it, right? And you'll be like, yep, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Which right, which already tilts it towards failure. It would be better to just get on with it, right? And then, eh, like, it's not. There's something else about. There's something else about being able to say what needs to be said through the voice of a bot. Where like, I think you're getting paid too much, but I don't have to weaken my position or decrease my social status and appear like a backstabber because the bot said it. It was a reasonable thing. It had like a high temperature setting. It was like on temperature 1.9, and it just started making wild accusations. And one of the things that it said was what I was thinking. And then the agent is required to deal with that courteously and reasonably. And I'm like, yeah, what I wanted to say is in there. So that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome to do it. Right. And then you can even mask it because you can be like, look out for my interest and everyone that worked with me. So that you can't complain that, right? Because you balanced it. It's there's a congruence about it. Uh there's a word for that when you put two things in opposition, and if you can sort of rotate them around and they still keep fitting, there's only one solution for that shape. Like, if all things were equal, that's sort of the key thing. So what we're seeing here is there are some basic rules, but you and I are both in roaring agreement that they sound reasonable. If they don't sound, it's like the physics of fairness has some base rules. Otherwise, you're talking about a different mode of physics, like Euclidean geometry versus non-Euclidean. And it's like, yep, kind of valid. Like, there's other ways to you could make a set of fairness rules, but you go right ahead, and we've got this one. Like, so our foundational model picks some fundamental things. They will be out there. Mm. Yeah, and that's also not accounting for the fact that you're never gonna get ripped off that badly in the first place anyway. You know, like, you can, yeah, don't play the game. Yeah. So I guess that's what I see the sort of the main point of what we're trying to do is to get all these annoying, like, I shouldn't say annoying. I mean that they all they all seem necessary components to enable that bot, to enable that agent to appear. And then we're like, okay, this is the crappiest version that you, Mr. Maxwell, could probably prompt a pretty good one in a couple of days. And then you and I would be like, ambient attribution. And, and we just, that's it. We just start using it. And it's like, even it's not shitty, its initial version would still be better than a person by a lot. Yeah. Yeah, and it would be instant. It would be tireless. It would be polite. It would be fair. It would be knowledgeable. It would be like mum for all of us little children bickering over the spoils, and mum would come along. dude, you put it. Can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat? Yeah. So I guess all my comment today was about saying that the old way, you should be able to spin up this bot. If you're in the old way, which everyone is right now, you could have a chat to this bot about a situation and it would tell you what's fair. Like that's the difference in this agent. You go to ChatGPT because you want knowledge. You go to 3 for reasoning, you go to 4.1 for creativity, yada 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 yada. But you would come to the ambient attribution agent to get fairness and you would start having chats about all these other things in your life. Like you'd be like, well, what about this and this and this? And you'd start having these deep moral arguments with the thing. But the core that we got to get going is that each argument contributes to the bot's Wikipedia or its knowledge base, right? And that's the key to being like constantly learning. Mm, yeah. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, it's perfectly fine because it doesn't. It's only ever ruling. This is the comical thing, right? It's only ever ruling on a virtual scenario. It never knows if the information you presented is real or not because it doesn't matter. It's just saying that given this information, here's the ruling. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't distinguish between virtual and real. Everything's virtual to an AI. But that's key. That's key. No, that's key though, because the expectation would be as reliably presented as the real ruling. It would be the same bot, and so you could go chat to the bot and get a forecast. That's kind of what you want. You're like, hey bot, should I do this or should I do that? And it's like, well, if you did that, I'd attribute you X, and if you did that, I'd attribute right. That's the key part of the functionality. Yeah, and then you put a wrap around the outside, which is called the simulation miner or the attribution miner, and it sits there and it grinds away at the attribution agent, being like, what about this? What if I did this? What about that? What if this happened? And then it sort of probes around and is like, yeah, and it's like, yeah, it's like, hey Maxwell, here's the top 10 rulings that the attribution agent made on these potential futures of what you could do in the next half hour. Yeah, well, what do you want to do? Do one of them. Or something, right? And that's why the attribution agent has all these. It's like hidden powers or hidden effects for getting innovation going. Number one is smoothing out all the differences. Number two, reducing the stiction or the friction that is there against getting started, which is always much higher than once you're moving. Because once you get going on a venture, your friction goes down. But to get going is all this like, what about my shares? What about these shares? You know, and stiction's a good metaphor for it, right? But then there's also the huge innovation gain from being able to simulate and theorize about what I should do next. Because that's probably the biggest gain is like, okay, you've sorted out me getting treated fairly, but how do I get treated best? No, Oh, hello. What happened? Yeah, I know. How did you get back in? Oh, back to the invite. It stayed open. Okay. No, that was yeah. Because I was talking to you, and then it just like exploded in these colored blocks, and then you were gone. I was like, well, that was cool. Yeah. So good. We were talking about the forecasting ability of the agent to give you answers on a theoretical, hypothetical, incomplete situation to help guide your next move. How do you get treated best? Yeah. But deeper though, you're trying to say of all these things that I could do that are worth me doing, which one is worth the most? Yeah. Yep. Yep. Mhm. 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 Sounds like a version 1, eh? Yeah, and you should have yeah, you should be able to have a private chat with it. Like you can grab all the source and run it privately and interrogate it as much as you like. And no one needs to know and it doesn't get updated with the knowledge. But as soon as you want it to change in some way, then you need to publicize it. You need to have an open conversation with it and then it will change its programming. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, just for that social yeah, right? And then the fabric of the company is corrupted because the incentives are skewed, and it makes it harder for people to you know, feel valued or accurately valued. Yeah. So look, it just seems like even the crappy version is gonna be like pretty good. What does that mean? Oh yeah, that's different though. That just becomes just like any kind of improvement to an app. Uh, becomes that's all that is. Never. The oracle is ever growing. Yep. No, never, never, ever, 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 never, ever. That's just the worst. It's just, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's really just chatting with the bot. That's all petitioning is. Like, you're always petitioning. Even when you don't think you are, it's always listening to you. I reckon that would be one of the coolest feelings in the world to, like, start a little project, make a little money, and then just be like, this bot fairly recognized me. And then I argued about it and it heard me. It listened to me. Yeah, that's right. And it's recorded forever. So if it does get overturned one day, you're going to be pretty rich. And it's got this great incentive why you would want to improve this model and why it's worth your time to pay for the tokens to do petition grinding or, you know, to really improve the model, because that's how you get a space on the attribution agent attribution ledger. Like, that's how you get a slice of every attributive act, is to improve the bot a little bit. I don't believe that at all. Market forces are not market forces with imperfect actors do not give you the perfect result. You can't take. So you and I have a discrepancy where I feel like you've got this concept of there's some kind of meaning in numbers or numbers of people. And, like, right now, if I pulled up O3 and we started, let's say that there was a fairness quiz, like, OpenAI has all these benchmarks like SweBench. Um, let's say that there's an ethics bench that someone makes, right? Which is probably needs to be made. Like, if we want to be the attribution foundational model, we're going to need a benchmark. Um, and then we have to answer those questions as well as the bot answers the questions. Do you think that you and I are going to score very well compared to the foundational attribution model? We're going to get schooled. We're going to get schooled. It's going to teach us what fair is in the most elevated, elegant, wise way that you've ever been told what's fair. And that means that if we think that we're even a little bit above average compared to the population, then, okay, most people are not going to get what this bot's got to give. They'll be like, oh shit, this bot has out ethicked me at every turn. Maybe I should just let it run. It's not the wisdom. It's not the wisdom. It's the it's the noise of the masses. It's not. It says the training data says nothing about correctness. That's the distinction. We're not training the bot to echo the average. We're training the bot to discern the correct parts of a mass of things that contain some correctness within them. That's very different. The training data on an LLM is curated to be correct data. If you trained it on wrong English, it's gonna be a wrong English LLM, and you'll be like, this thing sounds like it's got an accent and it's stupid. But What we're saying is that we can't, we're one order above, we're one step above pure training because we have no actual training. We can only reason about a piece of data to then generate some training data based on the reasoning, which means that we're not hitting the average of the data at all. We're hitting the average of the reasoning about the data, which is very different, my friend, very different. Going back to what I was saying, back back to my every time. Every time the specifics come into play, but not as any kind of wisdom of the crowd's waiting. They come into play as things that will be reasoned over. And if contentious information is found to be contained within, it will be reasoned over more deeply. That's what's special about this bot. That's what's special about this bot. It's not trying to be a crowd pleaser. It's trying to be right. This is a very different stance. And everyone, every true Scotsman wants this thing to be right. That's the weird thing about it. You can that's the, it's gonna be great at arguing, right? But it's just not gonna be great at bending over and taking it because it has to balance conflicting views. And that's what's special about this foundational model. It needs to hold its ground. I think this agent will be made from a series of points, and I feel like we kind of know enough to make it, man. It feels kind of like it's we should be able to work it out, right? But that critical thing of like the prompting needs to walk over the data rather than just assimilating the data. It needs to only let in things that it's reasoned about, and then it needs to cross check it with what it already let in and what it already reasoned about. So it's always like reconciling. It's got this distilled knowledge base that it created from the data we threw at it. But it's, yeah, irrelevant. So it starts to feel it starts to feel like you could imagine training a foundation model that does this, or like distilling down a fine-tuned version of like O4 Mini that was just exceptional at, at attribution. Right, right. Mm. Right, like it doesn't need to be trained from scratch, but it will benefit from some distillation, I believe. Like if it's fine tuned a certain way, just like the Codex model is fine tuned over O3 and O4 Mini, it's like it performs better because it's been tuned. We can achieve the same, but the value is really going to be in that data set of like all the things that have been reasoned over, and like as people interact with it, they'll start to see pieces of their arguments and their experiences getting included in the canonical set. And that should start to give them a sense of feeling of like ownership or participation, being listened to. Yeah, it's universal. It's so universal. Yeah, yeah. But there's also there's actually a deeper feeling that I think we can solve, which is like I don't even know how to say what I mean. I don't even know how to express how I feel. Yeah. It's like a guttural sort of a sense, right? And if the petitioning bots are like verbalizing what you were feeling, like even that's a great gift. You're like, it's not that I wasn't being heard, it's like I couldn't even speak. And now this petition bot gave me a voice and I agree with it. And I got heard by the ambient attribution agent. Like I just I think this thing's probably gonna be more emotionally bonding than we've been giving it credit for. Like this is gonna be a a hug me now type of situation. Like you're gonna want to never live without this thing all around your life. Yeah, right. Like, and you're gonna tell it about everything you've ever gone through. You're like, when I was a kid, this child took my lollipop. You know? Yeah, yeah, yep. And it would just reason through, and it will give you a nice, cool, cold, calculating output and some remedial action. And you're like, yeah. I think we could actually have ourselves a really strong community of people that not only believe that the agent should be in charge of attribution, but who actually like it as it stands in charge. You know, like where we all, you meet someone in the street and you're like, "Am attribution?" And they're like, "Yeah," and then you can just do stuff together. I know, right? It's like, which which makes it worse, right? It just makes the whole problem worse, and then you got this finality thing. Yeah, yeah. And then you got access conditions on kids and all that, and then you're like, "Yeah, but I was stuck in traffic," and, like, all sorts of things, and it's like, it's just so unfair, and it just spirals down and down and down, and you're like, "God, can someone just give me a break? I'm trying." Divorce bot. Yeah, right? And then this bot is like, "Well, give him a chance, he did pay for your Land Rover," and all this stuff, and you're like, "That's right, I did, that was me." Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think this is I thank you for the talk. I'm feeling like even though it's hard going at the moment, I'm feeling like yeah, it's actually worth it to bring that bot to life. Like that's a missing piece in the world. That I don't see that bot anywhere, and it should be there. Mm, No, never does. But hey, I also realized that our previous discussions on what it means to participate, when I spent all that time to write those Ethereum contracts for the NFTs that represented our first model of Dreamcatcher NFTs, which we still have that code, by the way, and we can deploy that anytime. Um, it it also, when you have those NFTs, oh, dude, I am so sorry. This is I just I didn't sleep well last night. I drew a blank. Um, may I have just a moment to gather myself? Oh, dude, I'm sorry, I lost it. Uh, sure. Yep. Yep. No, what was before that? Right, and I was saying, even though it's hard going, it, it feels like this is a thing that's missing because it isn't anywhere in the world, and we need it. Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, thank you. So the model that we came up with for the Ethereum code included the notion of participation to assuage the not just the rules of the SEC, but the spirit of the SEC, which is like don't go scamming people who don't know what's going on. Fair enough. So the the thing with the platform as we mean it to be is that all of the work that the users become more like workers because they're taking part in improving the platform and making frames better, making naps better. And so being able to let people put money into a project that like previously they wouldn't have been able to contribute to because it was like, right now, you're like, how do I contribute to a software project? And everyone's like, good luck. But with this system, because you're using the bots to interact with it, you are already contributing. Like you're suggesting improvements, you know? Yeah. 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 You're a builder now. The participation threshold just went way down. Yeah. Yeah. Well, then, like, if we can get the ambient attribution bot to run in a decentralized fashion, then it's like I forgot that dream actually because I got bogged down with all the details on the way. But the dream is decentralized income. If you can demonstrate decentralized income, you can raise capital like a madman. Like a madman. I feel like that scene in Inception where they just woke up and they're like, is this still a dream? And they're like 5 dreams deep as they're dealing with all this other crap. And then they're like, dude, we gotta go. Decentralized income makes it, builds it. Yeah. Yeah. And that's for projects that are running where we don't have truly decentralized ambient attribution. The key goal is actually ambient attribution decentralized, because that means that your income from any given investment under that scheme, the income is not up to any individual person. It is decentralized. And that means yeah, you can't be scammed. And that means that we can put layering to make it even safer, where like each project is run by a project bot, so it really can't fuck up in the old ways like it used to. The income that the project makes is going to be determined by this decentralized thing. These project management bots are decentralized, so they can't be, gamed or controlled or whatever. Once you got that, then you open up any investment anywhere is legit. You can buy tokens in any project. You don't even have to register. They're not a security because they're decentralized and provably so. And I forgot, but that is actually the primary goal, because that is the biggest unlock of innovation that I can imagine. An ambient attribution bot, and then no SEC, like no SEC rules, because it's all decentralized genuinely. It's all safe because the bots are there. You walk on the playing field surrounded by your agents that pick apart anyone's fucking harebrained idea and give you the real deal about it. Like, yeah, that starts to sound like mad money, because it's like, look at all the token booms that went on. Most of those were scams. You know, if we can make a token economy where you can like make any investment and it be managed reasonably well by a bot, and it's not requiring SEC registration, you can start a project with just a whisper or a voice or saying something. That sounds like the end, man. Like, that sounds like the absolute thing to build. Like, that's job done. Anyone, right? Yep. Yep. So you got the participation hurdle. You've got the no efforts of a third party, because a decentralized bot is not a third party. It's out of control of all parties. And it's actually intelligent. Plus, it makes you feel listened to, heard, and fair. Like, man, that's insane to launch that. That's insane. Yeah, right? That one thing that looks so dull in comparison to all the other things, like, let's build a cryptocurrency. No, wait, let's make AI agents. And then you got this one thing that looks kind of dull, which is like, shall we figure out what's fair? And then, like, it's just crickets. Everyone's like, oh, nah, maybe. Like, what's the point of that? Information gradient. Yeah. Yeah, and preying on that desire to make easy money or make investment gains. You know, ah, man, I feel like we finally found the vision again. Like, that's actually it's there's been so many complicated pieces along the way that it sort of dulled my view of it. But that one simple thing, attribution and what's fair, expands to like that's the greatest platform that I can imagine. That thing. That's like all the booms at once. Well, they're not there to automate fairness. They're actually there to clip the worst case of unfair, which is different. A higher fairness than you can achieve as a human, and we will continue to pursue that fairness at the forefront of AI development. Like, that's the highest form of fairness available. Do you want to participate in that economy? It's kind of like, I would be like, please, can you take my money? What can I get for a kidney? Like anyone, like you kind of want to be in on that. Yeah. All right. So yeah, right. Or like you just do stuff and then projects are suggested to you and you're like, I made that? Well, kind of. You kicked it over. You stumbled on it. You tripped over this thing and now it's a project. And you're like, yeah, all right, let's do it. So, what do we need? We feel like we've got a prototype of the back end of the platform. Cool. We've got frames. Cool. We need naps in isolation. We have naps, but I need to trust you because we don't have untrusted naps yet. We don't have consensus on the GitHub repos, but we know that we can do that. We don't have a big enough chain to be considered consensus or decentralized, so we need like a marketplace, which doesn't have to be big to be decentralized, but just enough that there's the switchability between who's saying what the next top level hash is. Um, then we need probably an internal currency because it starts to feel like binding currency to ambient attribution. Like if the ambient attribution agent was to be part of everything, then it's the currency that does that. So it needs to like mint a thing, and it doesn't have to be a currency like 5 units of this thing of yours. It could be pure NFT. Pure NFT contribution could be the currency, and it's just their dealing in that. And so you have all these hodgepodge different things, and it can uniformly sum it up and be like this fraction of this, and it can just fractionalize the things, and that's the currency. That could work. And then after that, man, that's it. We might not. But that's actually not required to get to that final goal. Like we could hit that final goal of decentralized ambient attribution with decentralized ventures before we had grounding. Well, you would the same way you cash in, I guess. Like you'd send in some Ethereum or some USDC, and then you'd get paid out in it. Like you could run it entirely crypto based, you know. So yeah, because the grounding's messy. Like if you could offshore, right? So you could what if we could launch in pure crypto land and we were confident that we got enough legal opinion that we were not in any way violating SEC. Like this is clearly decentralized and this is participatory. So we got these gradual phases that we're going through. We're like, first of all, no investment. Second of all, best friends, family, all that, and then it's like participatory. And then finally, a high hurdle of decentralized. We were like, no, it's absolutely decentralized. Like we could do all that with no grounding, and then we can use the venture platform to generate grounding projects. Like that's the goal of the project is to do grounding in Tanzania or Lithuania or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that says to us that we shouldn't ever try to do the grounding now because it will be inefficient compared to doing the grounding from a vantage point where the ungrounded version is operational because we know how much tension there is in the crypto markets for ICOs and coins and tokens and all that. Like it's wild. People are buying meme coins. I mean, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of, but they're still buying them, right? And if we could do the ungrounded version, Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. That and when can we have that? At the rate that things are going with codecs, that feels like a this year thing, man. Like none of those things are easy, but then they're also designed in from the outset. So that counts for a lot. No, no, you're right. It's a great point. So that again reaffirms why it's important to stick to getting the architecture correct, because you only get that final prize if you came correct the whole way along. And we're looking good in that front, man. I gotta say, like, looks good. Yeah, it's crazy though. Like, it's just like so helpless and fruitless, and then all of a sudden you're like, ta-da! And it's like all these things. You're like, whoa, that's quite hard. Yep. No, mate. I think we're good. I think we're good. And then very quickly after that, atomic bombs. Right? Which is wild. Wild. All right, buddy. Look, I'm super grateful for that one. That was extraordinarily helpful. Um, I think I'd better. I'll stop the recording, hey?